So we're here today at Vinyl Pimp Record Store in Hackney Wick, and Shlomo's joined us, beatboxer extraordinaire, and he's brought his setup along. He's also brought Ableton Push, and we're just going to kind of talk through how you're integrating your setup with Ableton, and we're going to have a look at your setup, your existing setup, and then try a few things out. So yeah, I mean, first of all, should we just have a look at kind of what you've got?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a hardware person. Yeah. Starting out, I've always used hardware. I've been a bit scared of taking software on stage because I don't want it to all crash and die, which, to be honest, hardware does most nights, but in a way that I can kind of control.
Yeah.
So all of my live performance is done using these 4 pedals, or actually this new one's not even a pedal, it's built for using your hands. This is the new loop station from Boss. It's called the RC505, and it's the first one I've seen that's got 5 separate loop phrases, and it's got effects on the in and out, so I love having a play with that. It's kind of the workhorse of my rig. That does all the hard work, and then the rest of it's just effects and processing. So I've got this little guy, this is the TC Helicon synth voice tone, which kind of takes your voice and makes it much more... makes it sound like a robot, basically.
Mad, great.
This is the TC Helicon Voice Live 2, which is a kind of across the board effects and processing. I mostly use it for EQ and compression on the way into the loop station, but there's also really nice delays, reverbs, pitch shifting, harmonies and distortions and things on that. And then on the way out, it all goes through this Chaos Pad 3, which I use for various kind of granulation and re-triggering and glitchy kind of noises, which is really good fun. So this is the kind of setup that I've been using for the last 6 months, and I've been playing around a tiny bit with software because I just understand it's so much more powerful. Like with the hardware, you're always limited to what it can do. You can't upgrade it much. You can't bolt things on without getting more and more pedals, and this is already quite a lot of stuff to carry around with me. So yeah, I was talking a bit with Ableton, and they sent me this Push to play with, which is really beautiful because it's you don't really need to look at the screen, and that was the main thing that I wanted to do, was not ever look like I was checking my emails on stage.
Sure, yeah.
I find that to just be offensive to the audience. So you wouldn't even need to know there was a computer there. I'd be doing it all with these buttons. So the only reason that I haven't managed to incorporate this into the rig is just a matter of timing, really. I just need the time to kind of get it all working and get it to all fit in one box. So I was kind of hoping today maybe you could help me with this journey from being really confident and within my comfort zone on the hardware to being a little bit kind of nervous and unsure what I'm doing when it comes to the software.
Cool. I mean, you said you've worked out like a basic kind of template for recording into Ableton. And what was that, using the looper?
Yeah, so I've been using the looper. I mean, I could show you all that. I would love to show you what this stuff does first.
Sure, that'd be great.
I've got it all plugged in at the moment to just do some hardware work.
Okay.
Yeah, so
well, let's give that a go. Yeah, let's just check it out.
Okay, cool. So.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
So with this loop station here, you've got, what, like 5 channels?
Yeah.
And if you record one beat on one channel, can you then kind of record another one and then go back to the previous one? Or are you kind of constantly overwriting?
No, so you can basically, there's 5 phrases and you can stack as many layers up on each phrase as you want.
Okay.
So you can keep looping, you could have like as many harmonies on each one of these as you wanted.
Yeah.
And then you can separate them into 5 things. So that tune, you just had, the first one was just hi-hat there. Yeah. And then you've got the bass line there. And you've there's 3 harmonies on there. So I could undo it to just
I
have the first
see,
one.
okay. And then put them back again.
Yeah. Like when I did the beat and the lyrics on the same track, that's because normally I then go in to do another layer here as that track expands, but I just did the first part of that track. Having the separate undos for each file actually makes it much more powerful because it's almost like having 10 different elements that you can bring in and out.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful, really powerful.
Yeah. So as far as kind of using push goes, we can basically record each part into a different clip, and then kind of build up scenes.
Yeah.
Is that how you've sort of approached it? In a sort of similar way to that, but you can actually isolate things.
Yeah, you get a bit more control.
Yeah.
I found it a bit frustrating that with the loop station, if you want to keep just recording layers, it will just keep, once you've got it on overdub, it will just keep going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, So then to do that on live, you have to use the looper plugin.
Device.
Yeah, device, that's right. But then they're not, I was a bit disappointed that they're not separated into separate files. They're all bounced together as one audio file.
Right, okay.
So to be able to stack layers up as quickly as I do with the hardware, I've got to hit record and stop. So do you see what I mean? I need to trigger it into a new clip each time, and that means I use up my 8 banks pretty quickly.
Right, sure.
Yeah, it's quite exciting really, that just the amount of control you can have with this, especially when you then take it offline. I think that's what I'd really like to do today, is just try doing this kind of spontaneous form of composition, which I'm used to doing.
Yeah.
And then taking that offline and using Push to then tidy it up and make it into a much more of a finished product rather than a jam.
And then of course we've got the whole kind of audio to MIDI functionality of that's in 9.
That'd be great to play with that too.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I sort of have mixed results with it sometimes, but I think your beats certainly they're so kind of pronounced that I would have thought that it would pick up on that audio pretty well, But I mean, we should give it a go. I'm really up for testing it out, and maybe on a bass line or whatever as well. It could be quite cool. We've done a bit of repatching. Yeah. We've now got your setup going into a sound card. Yeah. Going into Ableton.
Yeah. So we can now record. I can still use my effects and stuff, but I can record it into live. Yeah. And then I've got it coming back out again through the Chaos Pad, so I can. It's quite a nice little marriage between software and hardware in theory, if it works.
Yeah, and you've got like some kind of MIDI sync as well, so your effects are now kind of in time.
Yeah, I just in the last 2 minutes just had an idea, which was to run out MIDI output from my sound card into this pedal here, which then goes into this one, so these guys are in sync. So like if I wanted to do a delay effect after I'd set the tempo within Ableton, it would all be in time.
There you go.
In theory, in theory.
It's like more and more leaning towards you using this live, maybe, you never know.
Exactly.
And just to remind me as well, you said you meant you using the looper, and is that how you start off? That's the first thing you record, yeah?
So I basically mapped these buttons here to control the looper device within live. Yeah. So I could start like, that kind of sets the tempo really and sets the kind of precedent for the rest of the song. Okay. This is all built from a live performance perspective rather than a studio perspective, although it is useful for writing in the studio too. Yeah. So I could start with just like a... couple of effects on the out I've got here.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all a bit unpredictable for me, and like this is all quite predictable, as this is, you're never quite sure
Yeah.
what it's going to do, which is kind of fun.
And that's basically down to the sort of the clip length, is when it's kind of looping round. So if you just catch it after the start of the next bar,
it'll go round.
Yeah.
It'll add an extra half bar or something.
Yeah.
Whereas the hardware seems to be a bit more controllable, really. You can kind of tell it what you want it to do and it'll stick to it.
Yeah. I noticed you're using duplicate, right? Or were you using new? When you wanted to kind of go onto a different scene. You weren't sort of duplicating the whole scene that you'd already recorded, were you? Or how was that working?
I don't really know what happened here. I think my idea was that I was going to build something up, break it down a bit by taking stuff out.
Yeah.
Then you duplicate it and you can add more and more layers.
Yeah.
And then when you want to kind of drop back to where you were before, you can bring back that whole scene. But actually, those two scenes are very similar.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. Because I could have gone like, so, could take out the beat and the bass line, just get left with that, duplicate that. That's the idea anyway. And then just go back.
Fantastic.
That's the idea.
Yeah. Cool. I tell you what might be really cool is if we kind of save the session and then maybe I kind of take it back and try a few things out with some more of those parts. We kind of got a bit more time.
Yeah, for
and then
sure.
kind of send it back to you. And because there's some fantastic parts in there.
That'd be wicked, yeah.
So I've got Shlomo's project here, the one he created on Push, and I thought it might be quite interesting to try out some of the audio to MIDI capabilities of Ableton Live. So let's start off with the beat, and I'm going to have a look at that here. First thing I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to take off all the MIDI mappings. He had something that was controlling the looper and some various mixer controls as well. So I just clicked on this MIDI button here, and I'm just going to highlight all of those and delete them. The other thing as well is that I can see that there's some tempo automation on there as well. So I'm just going to delete that automation. There, it's very easy. And that's gone back to 87.80. So let's just play this scene here. You can probably hear there's some sort of timing discrepancies there, and that could be a number of things. It could just be the way that Shlomo had his looper set up, or maybe some latency, I'm not too sure. But I think first thing that we should do is to try and fix that. So let's focus on the beat. I'm just going to take all these off record arm. There we go, and this is the beat here. I'm just going to solo that. Just put it in the center. So you can see this first transient here is not lining up with the start of the bar. So let's have a look at that. First thing I'm going to do is just hover over that transient there, right click, and I'm just going to set that to 1.1.1. There we go. And then I'm just going to increase the length of this loop and then just drag this loop end brace there. Set the start of that on the bar, and then just play that now. Okay, so that's going bang on the start of the bar now. Let's just put the metronome on to check that. Now you can hear that this last snare that he's creating is also not falling exactly on the beat, so I'm just going to drag that over there. Cool, and let's maybe try out some of the quantize with warping. So if we just select over this whole loop, and then right click here and just do insert warp markers. There we go. And I'm just going to go up to my quantize settings. Just check, okay, they're set to 16th. So there we go. And I'm just going to do Command U. Cool. And I've actually got some grooves already in here. I've got the swing 1655, so let's just try that out on here. Put some of the swing back into it. Okay, that's working really nicely. So I'm just going to take the quantize off, and yeah, let's try converting that to MIDI. So I'm just going to right click on the clip and select convert drums to new MIDI track. There we go, it's doing its business. Okay, and let's solo that now and press play. Lovely. So we can see the MIDI notes it's created there. Fantastic. And it's put that onto a 606 kit. I think that's quite cool, but maybe we could try adding a break to that. Maybe we could slice up a break and then replace the 606 with a kick, snare and hat from the break. So let's have a go at that. I've got a few drum crazy loops here. That's pretty cool, quite hip hop sounding. So let's try that out. I'm just going to create a new audio track. Just going to drag that over. There we go. And let's just solo that for the moment. We just want to get the loop right on that first. So same principle, start of this first kick, transient. Just going to set 1.1.1. There we go. Let's drag the start of that loop there as well. And this is the start of the second bar, so I'm just going to drag that over and then drag the loop over as well. Let's set the warp to beats. Okay, so I'm just going to try out a slice to MIDI. I'm going to do it with the transient setting. I haven't put any warp markers in at the moment. The main thing is just to extract the actual individual drum hits and have them map to a drum rack. So let's do slice to new MIDI track. There we go. Cool. So let's just listen to that now. Okay, so the first thing to do is I'm just going to take the attack down to 0, so we've got a nice tight attack on all of those drum hits. I'm also going to take the release right up as well, so it plays as much of the sample as we can. Okay, so it's created a MIDI clip for us, but I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't really want that anymore, so I'm just going to highlight that, delete. And then this is the MIDI clip that the audio to MIDI created here. So I'm just going to drag that over to that, just copy that. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's not sounding very good at the moment. The MIDI notes aren't assigned to the correct sounds. So I'm just going to put this preview button on here so we can hear the sounds. And let's just change this to a decent snare. That's not bad. I want one with as much release as possible, so that's pretty good, that one, I think. Also, this should be a hat, so let's just assign that to a hat. And let's see if we can get a better kick as well. I think that's pretty cool. Let's play it with the 606. So remember, this is a beat completely created by Shlomo, and we've now got it in the MIDI domain. Nice. So let's now have a look at the bass line. I think that's here. Okay, so same thing. It doesn't sound like it's starting at the start of the bar. So let's apply the same principle. I'm assuming this is the first note. So let's do the same thing. Yeah, set 1.1 there. And then just increase this loop length so that we can make that a 2-bar loop. Lovely. So let's try some more audio to MIDI conversion. I'm going to use the convert melody to new MIDI track this time. Let's see what it comes up with. Just solo it. Okay, so it hasn't done a bad job, to be honest, but I think that I can manipulate these notes just to sort of make it work a bit better. So I'm just going to bring up my keyboard here, virtual MIDI keyboard, and let's just look at the first note here. Okay, so that's an A flat or a G sharp. I think that should be the bass note. So it's just a case of moving a few of the notes around. So this note here is playing an A sharp, which is a B flat. So let's just move that up to the B. Back down to the A flat. This up to the B. This down to the B flat. I quite like the C there, but maybe let's just take off this extra note there and just extend that out. Let's just listen to that. Cool, and let's quantize that. We can apply the same groove. Let's put the same swing on. And let's try a different sound. I think it's on a Rhodes sound at the moment. It's actually an analog, but let's try something from my library. Let's just have a look at my bass sounds here. Okay, let's try this Norse bass. Okay, let's put the octave up. It's a bit low, isn't it? Press Shift and cool. Let's just change the length of some of these notes so it's fitting a bit better. Okay, I'm just going to make this monophonic. So now let's try that with the beat that we got. So there's his beat. Now what we could do is maybe take out those original elements that he created and just try the stuff that he put on top of that. I think it's cool. I can see so much potential with Push. You know, it's just really kind of getting familiar with it, isn't it? And you know, being able to rely on it in a kind of live way. But,
yeah, I think it's just like the amount of hours that go into mastering any instrument, and you can't take that lightly. So I've obviously put lots of hours into mastering this thing.
Yeah, totally.
But the hours into mastering the beatboxing and composition, and so you've got to think of Push as an instrument. Yeah. In the same way you wouldn't just sit down and be able to instantly play the double bass without practicing it. So it's just a matter of time, and I'd love to be able to do that. I think that'd be amazing. Yeah.
But wicked. Thanks a lot, man. Fantastic.
Pleasure, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Cool.
At Point Blank Online, you've got two methods of interaction with your tutor. Firstly, you've got the weekly online masterclass, which is in real time. And then also we've got feedback on your assignments, and that's known as DVR. So the online masterclass is a 1-hour session you get with your tutor every week. You can ask questions about the lesson content and get instant feedback, and also demonstrations on the fly from their computer desktop with our streaming technology. DVR stands for Direct Video Response, and the concept is really simple. You upload your Ableton, Logic or Cubase project file to your tutor, he downloads it and then pushes record on the screen capturing software and evaluates your work, so basically giving you one-to-one feedback. You see all of the mouse movements and any parameter changes made by your tutor. It's kind of like sitting in the studio over their shoulder watching what they're doing whilst they work. We've found the DVR process has truly revolutionized the way that we teach online, and the results speak for themselves. Book your place on a course now by visiting pointblankonline.net.